السلام عليكم، حياكم الله معنا اليوم في محاضرتنا How to become a successful designer. طبعا اليوم انتم جايين في حاضنة بادر، ودي اعطيكم بريف بسيط عن حاضنة بادر. طبعا حاضنة بادر احدى برامج مدينة الملك عبد العزيز وعلوم التقنية. حاضنة بادر تقنية معلومات واتصالات، كانت هي البداية في عام 2008. الحمد لله في عام 2010 كانت التصنيع المتقدم بواسطة الدكتور محمد ماجد، وطبعا الرئيس التنفيذي لها. فما راح اخذ من وقت كثير، انا ودي الدكتور محمد الان يعطيكم بريف بسيط عن حاضنة التصنيع المتقدم، وان شاء الله عقبها نكمل مع الديزاينر رتيف ان شاء الله. يعطيكم العافيه.
الحقيقه ان هذه الليله يعني حقيقه ننظر لها نظره استثنائيه، لانها حقيقه في تواصل. اظن فيه طلاب من كليه الهندسه، فيه مهندسين على راس العمل عندنا في المدينه، وفي ايضا ناس شغالين يمكن في يعني انتربرنورز ولا رواد اعمال خاصين بانفسهم. فهذا حقيقه يعني تجمع طيب جدا متنوع يشترك فيه العمر الشباب والطموح، واعتقد ان شاء الله اللي بتسمعون الليله راح يسركم ويسر اي شخص يرغب انه يكون يحاول حقيقه نسميها الاميه الهندسيه التصنيعيه اللي هي مستفشه عندنا. نحمل شهادات عليا ونحمل شهادات كثيره، ولكن القدره الوطنيه حقيقه للتصنيع او للتصميم والتصنيع قليله وبدأت تكون ضعيفه، وهي يمكن احد اسباب وجود صعوبه لدينا في يعني على الاقل اعاده تصنيع اللي نشتريه او المنافسه حتى في ما نشتري. الموضوع كبير جدا صراحه، ولكن عشان ما اطيل عليكم، كل المطلوب الان نفكر فيه انه كيف انك تنقل او تحصل على كفاءات او معارف معينه، بحيث ان افكارك الابتكاريه او ما تراه او ما تسمع من افكار اخرين تستطيع انك تحولها الى منتج هندسي. واول وسيله هذا الشيء اللي هي التصميم الهندسي، سواء اذا كنت تصمم ميكانيكالي يعني ميكانيكا او تصمم الكتروني. اي سيستم تراه او اي منظومه تبغى تصنعها او تستخدمها او تبتكرها تجمع بين هذه الاشياء كلها. فما في جهاز ميكانيكي كامل ولا في جهاز كهربائي كامل ولا الثنتين يشتغلون بدون كمبيوتر، وتبدا تختلط الامور وتتكلم عن نظام ولا تتكلم عن عمليه التصميم. هذه اول خطوه تبدا قبل ما نفكر في العمل التجاري والصناعي اللي مرتبط على الابتكار. فالمطلوب من الان ان نحاول نجمعكم هالجمعه هذه، تكونون جروب مع بعض، كل واحد يدعم الثاني، كل واحد عارف الثاني وش يشتغل فيه، كل واحد اثناء التدرب يساعد زميله بما يعرف. بعد كذا راح يكون عندنا طبقه او جماعه ضخمه كلها تتكلم بنفس اللغه. عندما تجي الافكار من الاخرين المبتكرين، لا ليسوا بالضروره مهندسين ولا بالضروره عندهم القدره على تحويلها الى منتج، وبعدين فئه ثانيه تاخذ المنتج وتحوله الى عمل تجاري. فلاحظوا عندنا اكثر من مرحله، فلا بد ان يكون في جماعه عدد كبير يعمل مع بعض بطريقه سليمه، بحيث انها نستطيع اننا يعني يكون عندنا مجتمع قادر او مجتمع صناعي يخلق وظائف مستوى جيد، ويخلق صناعه تخدم المملكه انها تستقل ذاتيا فيما تحتاجه. طيب الادوات اللي نطمح لها، تفضل. بادر كبرنامج هدفه انشاء مؤسسات صغيره، مؤسسات صغيره ومتوسطه يملكها مواطنين وتخدم البلد، وكل كل مؤسسه يعني تتعامل مع الشركه الثانيه. وش المنطلقات حقتها؟ نبغاها المؤسسات الصغيره والوسط اللي مبنيه على تقنيه، سواء تقنيه اتصالات او تقنيه حيويه او تقنيه التصنيع بشكل عام. اللي يعنينا اليوم هذا اللي مشرفين عليه اللي هو حاضنة التصنيع المتقدم. حاضنة التصنيع المتقدم لها يعني كينونه صغيره جدا، والمساحه اللي تمشي فيها ضخمه جدا. كل انواع الصناعه بانواعها البتروكيماويه وغير البتروكيماويه تنطوي تحت هذه. فكان صعب جدا انك تعيد انك تتخيل او انك يكون لك اثر في عمل في مساحه ضخمه جدا. فقلنا التركيز وشو؟ قلنا خلاص ان هدفنا الاساسي ليست المؤسسات فقط، ولكن هدفنا الاساسي هو خلق قاعده من الشباب قادرين على التحول الى اعمال تجاريه. تخيلتوا بعد ما تتمكن أنت من القدرات الأساسية ويكون عندك مجموعة من الزملاء كل واحد عنده إمكانيات محددة ولكنها متكاملة مع خدماتك، تستطيعون مع بعض أنكم تأسسون مؤسسات صناعية، وهي اللي ممكن تكبر إن شاء الله ويعني تصل إلى مستويات عليا. إذا الخطوة الأولى اللي هي عملية الربط بين ما تدرسه في المنهج باستخدام أدوات عالمية أو أدوات أساسية، وبعدين عملية جلب خبرات عالمية مثل المتحدث اليوم يجي يناقش يقيس تجربته، مو بكبير في السن، راح يكون عنده تجربة معينة ناتجة عن من البيئة اللي هو عايش فيها. قد لا تكون بيئته شبيهة ببيئتنا، ولكن قد يكون عندنا امتيازات أفضل من بيئتهم، قد يكون عندهم امتيازات أفضل من بيئتنا. الهدف شو؟ أنك تشوف تستعرض تجارب آخرين راح تحرك فيك الرغبة بالعمل المشابه. بدون شك بدون شك أن نسبة كبيرة مننا بتطلع من المحاضرة وهي عندها تقول ليش مو أنا؟ ليش ما أقدر أسوي الشيء هذا؟ طيب إذا طلعت الرغبة موجودة، لابد الحاضنة تقدم أو الجهات المعنية هذه لازم تقدم خدمات تسمح لك أنك تحول هالرغبة إلى عمل. فإذا حبيت بس لو تنتقل بس إلى آخر شيء هذه الفكرة الأساسية البسيطة لدورنا اليوم. نبغى نسوي شيء أول شيء الالتحاق، سميناها اندستريال ديزاين جروب، كان في يعني ممكن نسميها أي اسم. هذه مجموعة كلكم تشتركون في الرغبة أنكم تتملكون قدرة على المشاركة في عملية تصنيع أو عملية تصميم لمنتج صناعي. المنتج الصناعي ممكن يكون بسيط، ممكن يكون معقد. بعد كذا راح إذا اتفقنا نحط بطاقة تؤهلك، تعطيك يعني كينونة معرفة أنك تتبع المجموعة هذه، والمجموعة هذه تسمح لك أنك تستخدم البطاقة هذه، راح تسمح لك تستخدم الفاسيلتي اللي عندنا هنا، وأيضا قد تكون يعني بترتيب معين من خلال الحاضنة منشآت داخل المدينة، ورش ميكانيكية وإلكترونية داخل المدينة. اللي بعد كذا يجي دور الحاضن الرئيسي اللي هو إتاحة حقيقة تدريب متميز من خلال عندنا الآن معمل متكامل للتدريب على مثلا برنامج مثلا يكون الكتية. راح نبدأ في التصميم الميكانيكي في البداية، ممكن هذا معظم اللي دعيناهم يجون من قسم الهندسة الميكانيكية، ولكن طبعا محاضرة اليوم للجميع، ولكن فيما يخص اللي نتكلم عليه في قضية التولز الأساسية راح تكون مركزة في البداية على الهندسة الميكانيكية، وراح تنطلق بعد كذا إلى الإلكترونيات والدوائر الإلكترونية. راح يكون عندنا في معمل سويناه في المواقف، المعمل اللي في المواقف خارج المبنى هذا، عندنا معمل متكامل كمبيوترات من أحدث ما يمكن، فيها مركب عليها أحدث نسخ أصلية للكتية، زائدا مجموعة من الزملاء متبرعين بوقتهم انهم يدربون او يساعدونكم. ولكن ايضا في حاجه ثانيه، بنسوي اونلاين تريننج، بمعنى نعطيك لايسن انك تدخل على كورسات اونلاين وتتدرب بنفسك. اذا تدربت وتمكنت وبدانا نلمس بعض التميز في هذا العمل، راح نعطيك تدريب مباشر من خلال مهندسين خاصين من عندنا. إذا أيضا تجاوزت هذه، راح نجيب عملية شهادة مهنية من الشركة داسولت اللي تملك وتطور برنامج كتية. بمعنى اللي بيمشي معنا في هذا الخط بإمكاننا في الأخير نعطيه شهادة من داسولت لأنه يكون سيرتيفايد كتية. راح نطبق هذه العملية لكل الجوانب الأخرى من التصميم، بمعنى الإلكترونيات راح نتعامل مع شركة أخرى. إذا تكاملت الصورة صار عندنا عدد طيب، راح تشوفون الأفكار لما تجلسون كل شهر مثلا تجتمعون تتبادلون الأفكار، راح تجدون عندكم حلول، راح تجدون أن الحلول تكون مؤطرة، تكون منطقية، مبنية على معرفة حقيقية هندسية. اللي في لا زال طالب راح تشفع له أنه لما يقدم مشاريع راح يقدمها بتميز، لأنه راح يستخدم أدوات هندسية متقدمة، التحليل الهندسي الحراري، كل هذه بتصير موجودة من ضمن الكتية. وقد يعني نفتح المجال لجوانب أخرى من التصميم. الرسالة اللي أنا يمكن جيت عشانها أبغى أوصلكم أننا حقيقة عندنا رغبة حقيقية لإتاحة المجال باستخدام أدوات حقيقية لكم، وفي الأخير راح ترجع لكم أنتم. يعني الواحد ما يقدر يأكل الشخص أكل، الأكل نحطه، اللي بيأكل راح إن شاء الله يجد يعني أكل صحي، راح يلقى دعم، راح يلقى محاولة حقيقية لنقلك بحيث أنك تصير إنسان فاعل تستطيع أنك تطبق أفكارك. تنتقلون من النظري والكلام والطموح وأنا مبتكر وأنا كذا ونسمع قصص كثيرة. هذه أدوات مهنية معروفة وبروسس واضحة تنتج اللي هي المنتج. في برودكت لايف مانجمنت، وهذه إن شاء الله هذه من الأشياء اللي ممكن أيضا نعرضكم عليه، يعني نستعرضها معكم وتشوفون إنه والله تراها عملية صحيح إنها فيها تمييز وكذا، لكنها تراها عملية واضحة، يعني ما تحتاج أكثر من إتاحة الفرصة. وهذا المؤمل من خلال هذا التجمع أنكم تبادرون فيه وأنكم تحاولون. عشان كذا سميناها بادر. البرنامج كله يبدأ من مبادرة شخص أو أشخاص مثلكم. إذا قدرتوا تتواصلون مع بعض راح تشوفون زخم هائل من المعرفة. المواد حقتكم في الدراسة اللي يدرسون لا زالوا في الكلاس راح يشوفون المواد أبسط مما يتخيل لما يتمكن من بعض المعارف، لأن راح يقيس عليها وراح يقيس. وأنا إنسان جاي تاريخ طويل مع التعليم والتدريب. كنت أدرس جامعة الملك سعود، والآن في برنامج وطني للأقمار الصناعية. أعرف بالضبط وش نتكلم عنه. فالدور عليكم حقيقة أنكم تشوفون التجربة هذه، كل واحد يعطينا فيدباك، تويتر وتفر على قولهم، كل شيء يخطر ببالك تقوله عن هذه التجربة ثقة تامة. هنا ناس نقرأ النقد كفيدباك إيجابي لنا، نقرأه ونصحح، وإذا كان إيجابي منكم تستفيد منه، وهكذا بكل بساطة. أنا بتيح المجال فهيم قدم السبيكر، وإذا في أي سؤال أنا بحاول أكون موجود لين أتعب. هذه الحلوة.
طبعا اللي معنا في تويتر في بادر AMI نسجل فيه الهاشتاج هذا على اساس انه يصير مسجل فيه كل المعلومات اللي اليوم صارت. فاحنا نحط كل انا وفهد واغلب الشباب هنا وش اللي صار، تلخيص اللي صار. الان ان شاء الله نبي ناخذ محاضره مكونه من جزئين. الجزء الاول راح يكون how to be a successful designer، شرح بسيط عن الديزاين وكيف تكون industrial design specific. وبعدها ان شاء الله راح نوقف بريك ونرجع مره ثانيه نكمل مع رتيف على موضوع كيس ستدي عن نفس قصه نجاحه هو في مجال الاندستريال ديزاين. طبعا رتيف واحد من الكونسلتنت اللي شغالين معنا في بادر AMI راح يشاركنا ان شاء الله اليوم. I would like to welcome Ratif to give us his presentation. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Baader, and thank you, Dr. Mohammed, for being here and coming to tell you a little bit about industrial design, a little bit about what we do in South Africa, specifically around industrial designing. My presentation is in English, so if any of you want me to talk slower, just raise your hand, so that at least I would like you to follow as much as possible. Is this better? No. Okay. Is it better? Okay. Thank you. Just briefly, my presentation is regarding, can you read that grey text? Not. Okay, let me quickly run through it. It's just some of the subjects that we're going to handle in this presentation. The first one is, what is industrial designing? There's a lot of confusion about that, so I would just like to sort of explain it, what it is. The second one, which is not visible there, is the actual person that is an industrial designer, how to become an industrial designer, the skills and tools needed, the design process, and then I would briefly sort of going into a bit of the design process in action. I would handle design as a business, common mistakes made as industrial designers, a typical portfolio of an industrial designer, and then a just quick look at the future of industrial designing and design in general. I want to start off to sort of try and sketch the design related area. Design is a very broad concept, and within design I'm trying to illustrate two parts. Can you see this, Nicholas? Can you? Very bright because you can't really see some of the lines. There's two parts to industrial design that I want to sort of sketch. The first one, design as an artistic base medium, and the second one as an engineered base concept. Now, I've sort of picked three professions in design or design related. The first one is interior design. Now, interior design, and you see I placed it more to the artistic side, is an artistic medium. The functional side is there, but it's not really a very much towards engineering based. Architecture design is starting to head over to engineering because there's strengths, there's structural elements that one needs to calculate and work. Industrial design is a profession that lies with one feet on the artistic side and the other feet in the engineering side. Basically trying to get art to a part, as you see down here, and a product to a process, specifically focusing more or less on the process side, which is on the engineering side. Yes. Okay, let's look at some of the key factors, focus areas in industrial design. And the first one is the aesthetic aspect. And you'll see I'll get back to that later in my presentation, because that's the starting point for industrial design, is the actual identity, the look and feel of a product is the main starting point. Some of the other factors that influence industrial design is ergonomics. Now, ergonomics is a study of human body relating to a product. And you'll see I've put a little picture in here. Very simplistic about a chair that needs to be comfortable, needs to be adjustable for different people, getting you to the right height to work on a desk. So it's definitely an ergonomic aspect to almost every part that we design. Then the usability of a product. It's a focus area where you need to understand your customer, the needs, the wants that he wants, or the problems that he have relating to the specific product. We also need to look at the marketability, the market area, to see if this product is a viable product for production and for marketing. And then lastly, to look at the production options, material options available to actually produce a product. I'm going to just start off with a little exercise. And I'm going to involve you in this because I need you to also sort of play along with me on this one. I've taken a very simple, very common product, coffee mug. And I'm going to use this as an example to try and illustrate to you what is an industrial designer, trying to illustrate to you some of the other designers and their sort of likes and looks towards a simple thing like a coffee mug. And if you can play along with me, I would like you to involve you to show me which one of these cups you would think an industrial designer designed. Now, luckily, Baader has offered us some prizes for this. So you are about to win something. So you need to help me and to show me which of these cups do you think an industrial designer developed and designed.
شباب ما ادري هو واضح لكم، هو الان اعطاكم امثله للاكواب فيبغاكم تميزون وش اللي صممت تصميم صناعي وفي بعضها صممت تصميم اركتكتشر اللي هو فني يعني ملموس، وفي بعضها في يانج اللي يستخدموها شباب يانج you said young industry.
No, industrial designer in general.
In general.
Yeah.
And there is engineer.
We would get to that. I firstly want to know if you can spot the cup that an industrial designer designed.
يبغى يعرف وش.
Yes, only one of those are industrial.
واحد منها صمم تصميم صناعي، فودي إذا تعطونا.
Yes.
وليش طبعا كل واحد يقول لي ليش. ثواني بجيكم.
Ibrahim, you must come and show me. I want to see. Yeah, the one that's right gets a prize.
Yeah, this one. This one.
Okay. You're way too clever. So there's your prize, a cup from Baader.
Why?
No, I'll explain.
I can explain if you want.
No, I want to take us through a process that people understand why the answer is like that.
Okay.
So if you just bear with me for a moment. Just for the fun of it, this was the second prize for everybody. So you really impressed me. Well done. Now, just to have a look at the cups, I just want to sort of explain to you the different types of outlooks towards a coffee mug. Let's just play along together. Which one of these would have been an interior designer? The middle one. No, I would say that's most probably an interior designer. And the reason why it is there's an architectural interior type of feeling. It's slightly functional, but not always that practical. Then the second one would be there's two cups that I sort of call the artist cups, which is something more of an artistic approach. And if I can explain to you that one, and the one with the guitar, that's a type of thing where it's not really functional, but somebody wanted to express themselves in a way that relates to their environment. Then just a little bit further, the one in the middle, which I don't know if somebody can suggest something about the middle one. A graphic designer. It's about graphics, not so much about function. Just trying to get a bit of a graphic image, fun idea across. And there's two more, which I would like you to spot. The one is an architect, and the other one is an engineer or a scientist, if I can sort of broadly combine them into the same cup. Okay, my one in the bottom there is my scientific or engineered version, which relates to accuracy and measurement, and then this one is more my construction or architectural one. People want to build and construct things. And then the last two, as you indicated, this one being an industrial designer, but I also want this one to sort of partly package in the same one. Industrial design is also a very broad profession. You get less functional designers and you get high product or high production designers. This is typically where I see myself as an industrial designer with more than 10 years of experience. Somebody that focuses on mass products for the mass market. That one I sort of pitch as a young designer. Somebody that wants to get somewhere, wants to impress. Still the elements of design or industrial designers is very much visible in that specific one. Function, identity, meaning green. There's a lot of industrial design in that one. Okay, but thanks for taking part in my little bit of fun.
لكم واضح الفائده منها اللي هو الاندستريال ديزاين دائما نعاني في مشكله اللي هو الماس برودكشن. يعني لو تشوفون هنا في بعض الاشكال صعب انك تقدر تشتغل على الماس برودكشن كل مره بتقدر تنتج نفس الفكره، لكن هذه عباره عن غطاء وعلبه وقاعد يمشي عليه الانتاجيه، فهذا يقلل عليه. قال لك هو اقل فانكشن واكثر ماس برودكشن ركز عليه، فهذا اللي حبيت نعلق عليه. الله يعطيك العافيه. يس.
اوكي. Close on this one. Okay, I would like to now sort of talk to you through a typical type of designer. A designer is a person that is firstly a creative person, creates identity. And sometimes you can even spot a designer walking by, because it's people that normally try and project something about themselves, something about their likes and dislikes. Not really brand themselves, but sort of get an identity about them. They need to be creative thinkers, because we work with problems, we work with challenges, we need to come up with solutions. And you have to have the desire to improve something. If you just want to redesign something, there's not real a challenge in it. The challenge is always to try and do something even better than before. I also believe that an industrial designer needs to be innovative, because creating new products, spotting opportunities, and then the last one is the problem solving. I think that's more or less sort of encapsulating most and all of these criteria for me. Again, this slide is there to try and explain to you that an industrial designer needs to be a combination of applied art and applied science. Trying to be the person in the middle that has a good understanding about science, but have a feeling about the art and applied art on the other side. Now the next question is how to become an industrial designer. Now the route that I show you is very typical to our country, where we have a subject, a school that you can take, which is an art subject. Personally, I believe that design is very much focused at the beginning on art, because you need to have an artistic feel about identity, about look and feel. From there on, I think the next step would be to start exposing yourself to CAD environment. Do a little bit of a CAD program. Just get yourself into that, and then start to engage in a college or industrial design degree to formally educate yourself as an industrial designer. After that, I always believe that an internship is very important, even if you don't get paid for it, but to get experience as in an environment where people are involved in product development and in design, either in the manufacturing or in the design parts. And lastly, I think in about 3 or 4 years or 5 years in designing, one should start to specialize in a specific field. The field that I'm specializing is more into electronic related enclosures and products that has got big assemblies where there's multiple parts in it. So that's my field of speciality. Just wanted to sort of quickly talk to you about the skills that you need as an industrial designer. You'll see there the first one is draw, draw, and draw. I think it's very important for a designer to have the ability to communicate thoughts on paper. And the best and oldest and proven principle is to be able to draw. Now, not all designers draw like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo. You need basic design drawings. The thing is, you need to somehow present yourself. It doesn't need to be the best drawing. This is not my drawing because I can't draw, but at least I'm trying to do that. The second skill is to be able to conceptualize, and that's basically this little picture at the top explained to you how to conceptualize things, to try and explain your thoughts to other people in a conceptual way. And the third one, which I'm also a believer of, is to get your hands onto a product. It's to build a model, to test something, to prove a principle, but be hands-on on firstly on the material and onto the problem that you're trying to solve. The fourth one, which I'm getting up now, is presentation. I think from a designer, visual communication, presentation is a very much a key to the success of how your product is presented to other people. So presentation skills are important. Now, if we look at the tools that you need for designing, I think Dr. Mohammed also touched on CATIA as software. You need the ability to work on parametric or engineer-based software like CATIA. We in South Africa in our company use SolidWorks. And then you have to have the access to prototype and test facilities. And Baader is very much equipped with that, having a very great equipment relating to prototyping machines and test facilities. So you're very fortunate to have that close by. And then closer to yourself, one needs to build on your presentation. And the way that we do it is through software. Software helps you in so many ways to present and put yourself out there in a professional way. And one of the biggest ones is from a designer to be able to visually communicate and use the software to help you to do realistic renderings and presentations to companies in a professional way. The second one is simulation. Software allows you to simulate situations, problems, environments, simulate some tests. We use a lot of plastic molding parts, and we simulate mold flow, we simulate drop tests, we simulate thermo reactions in assemblies. So in that case, the software helps you a lot to run those simulations. The last one is the manufacturing instructions. As a designer, a product developer, you need to transfer or instruct manufacturers to manufacture the parts that you've designed. And software helps you in the way that you can prepare a drawing for a part, you can prepare tools and jigs around your part for manufacturing. So software is a very important part. Let's look at the design process. And there's many different ways to look at design and design process, and everybody's got a different diagram of showing it. This is very simple, but it basically tells you that you start off with something that you don't know, and in a state, as you at the bottom stated, in a different state to where you're trying to get it to a preferred state. And through that, you go through different type of processes, a research, a concept, a prototype, until you get to your desired design. I'm going to show you a little bit about the process that we use in our office. We start off with an idea. A customer comes to us either with an idea in his head or a sort of a pre-described brief or a technical specification. But from the idea, we sort of do a bit of research relating to the product, where it will be used, the type of environment and related to the product. And then we would start with very simple sketches, trying to build a conceptual idea of a possible solution of this product. And this one specifically was a vehicle tracking system for big trucks in South Africa that had much more features than a normal tracking device, but also a feature of displayed maps, a lot of sensors to different types of parts of the truck. So we did a sort of a conceptual sketch. We studied some of the users that might use this product in their truck. And then we started to do a bit of a conceptual sketch to our customer, which later went into a computer model. And then from there, once it's approved as a sort of a conceptual item, we then go into a bit of a mechanical engineering state where we would basically start to work from the inside out. We would get all the relevant mechanical, electrical parts and start from the inside and eventually work ourselves out to the external, the visual and the look and feel of it. Like mentioned before, the drawing part is always a very necessary part to document what you've done, document the parts, document the process that needs to be followed to manufacture the parts, and have some or other way of checking parts, your tolerance, the tolerance, specific shall I rather use that one? Okay. Specific requirements related to the manufacturing tolerance, things that relates to the process of making those parts. Then we get to the prototyping stage, which are normally made of either by a mock-up or a grown sample to get to the point where you can have a working part in hand, which has got to check your form and fit and the working of all the different parts. And then lastly, we as designers always need to be involved in the manufacturing of tools and jigs that relates to our product, because that's the way that we learn where possible problems and manufacturing issues might arise. So in our company, we are very much involved in the pre-production and the production setup of the parts. I would spend nights on the factory floor when the first part of a production comes off to check and see, because nobody would know that part as well as the designer, and spot problems and know where the possible problems might be than the actual designer. Now we will look at design more relating to people that are interested in design and interested in possible business ventures relating to industrial design. Now, design as a business, first thing is to create your own identity. As a young industrial designer, as I mentioned, identity is very important to a designer, and you need to present yourself in a way that you are comfortable with. Second one is trying to understand the needs and the problems of your customer, because that's what your business would be about, is to solve businesses' problems and their needs. And the last one is always try and do something even better. Try and impress your customers. I think that is very important to a designer. And do it as good as you can, because a designer, if you're a designer, you're in it for life. It's not like a job that you can change after 3 or 4 years and go and work at a different company. A design is a person, and you building on your own identity, and therefore you only have one reputation. Even if you work for different companies, they will always refer back to you as a designer, because once you've designed something, your identity is sold through the success of that product. The last one is to build your portfolio. Now, in a normal job situation, you would work on your curriculum vitae of your CV through your life and trying to build it out. For a designer, their portfolio is their testimony. Then other aspects of designers is that you need to stay in touch. Stay up to date on knowledge and trends. Know your tools, your software, new things that come out, like new material, new technology. I think CATS is very much involved into the higher technology manufacturing, which is very ideal for industrial designer to have the ability to manufacture under new and advanced technologies. And then build a network. A network in a more horizontal way of speaking towards possible manufacturers, possible support on the financial side, possible support on the marketing side. It's a designer is not an isolated person. He's part of a team, and the teams are around you, and you need to work on that network. Just to get back to the portfolio, that's the way that you would normally try and present to customers, to build on and show them that you've actually managed to accomplish a variety of products and also which are successful. Now, this slide sort of relates to the mistakes that designers normally get themselves into, and that's, firstly, I think you need to understand your abilities. Young designers, they've got great ideas, but you always need to keep your feet on the ground and know what you can do and what you can't do. And from a designer, you're normally the first one in line with a new product development. So deadlines for new product developments are always market driven, and unfortunately you're the first one that needs to set the pace. And it's important for us as designers to keep to deadlines. But it's difficult. Creative thoughts, creative ideas, you can't say within an hour I'm going to have a solution. So as a designer, you might spend many nights restless, not sleeping to try and get to that solution which you need to present in 2 days, but stick to your deadlines. And the last one is ask advice. There's lots of people around you that's got knowledge and experience in fields that you might not feel that comfortable about. I think from industrial designers, we often work in an engineering environment, and you should ask the specialist, the engineering guy, the structural guy, the thermoanalysis guy, because it's not your specialty field, but you need to know and understand it, and you need to present solutions to your customers, which needs the credibility of people that can actually approve your thoughts and ideas. Then lastly, if we can sort of just have a bit of a look on the future of design. Now, industrial design sort of started off in the 1920s. And the catalyst of industrial design as a profession was the Industrial Revolution. If we look at design and design in future, I think industrial design its role is starting to change. Because manufacturing is changing, the environment is changing. And I think we as industrial designers will play very much a key role in the catalyst again, being the designers to keep products and processes green, and basically to ensure that we would have mass products and mass production lines in future. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, Ibrahim. If there's any questions, please ask. There would be a second part to our presentation after the myself as an innovator has developed my own products as well, not only for customers. And after the prayer break, we would take one of our products that we've developed and take it through a case study and show you all the pitfalls and things that we've actually gone through. Yes?
Yes, please. You talked about the industrial in a general manner. I just want to ask you, how can I apply industrial design in electrical field or mechanical field?
Thank you for the question. Firstly, I think industrial design relates to a very much a broad spectrum. If we look at electrical and electronical things, most of the products in electronic relates to people, and there's a human interface towards. And I think from an industrial designer, that would be the first place to influence the design of electronic part, is the actual human interface to the customer at the end. I've explained the aesthetic and the economical factors. I think those two are the two that can play a big role in product development. I hope I answer your question.
How you see the industrial design in Saudi market, compared with another, yeah.
It's a good question. I think my experience are very much related to South Africa, where I've been in industrial design for 16 years. There's a big comparison between South Africa and Saudi, in the sense that we are very practical people with very much problems that relates to our country only, and I think Saudi as well. Saudi has got similar problems that in which other countries might not have, because you've got a specific environment, specific culture, and around those things, I think industrial design has got a big opportunity in this country for Saudis, not for the rest of the world, because there's enough opportunity for industrial designing to work towards solutions for people in the country itself. Something about Saudi which really stands out, and you guys might not really pick it up, but you've got an ethnic identity which is so strong, much stronger to any identity which I can see even in South Africa. So your starting blocks for an industrial designer are really good, because you've got so much powerful visual, cultural elements that you can use in a product, which we in South Africa didn't really have. Second thing about the comparison between South Africa and I think Saudi. When I started industrial designing, I did my degree from 90 to 94. We were the first group of students in South Africa that qualified as industrial designers. So that when I walked out of college, nobody knew about industrial designing. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody could even, when they look at me and I said industrial design, oh, you're an industrial engineer. I said to them, no, I'm not an industrial engineer. I'm an industrial designer. And they couldn't really understand it. So what was left? I had to start my own business. There was no jobs around, which is very much similar to what you have in Saudi. And it's a big challenge, but it's an exciting challenge. And I think you've got, there's more support for industrial designing as well than in South Africa when I started. So yes, now I think there's a big opportunity for young industrial designers in this country.
There is a question here. He said, is it if I am a designer, I'm a beginner, is it possible that I design by myself my own things that I think about it, or I should copy the things that have been done and try to make it similar to it? Which is best for the initial stage?
I think that's very much a personal question, because is the question related to the process of actually becoming an industrial designer, or once you're an industrial designer, what do you do then? Is it?
I'm still in the beginning, and I don't know how to do. I know how to do design. I know the basics, but I want to make practice. Is it better to do my own ideas and implement it through the drawing, or just take some drawing and do similar to it? That's it.
I think if I can answer it in this way, the first one, if you want to do your own thing, you're inclined to be inventor more than an actual designer, which I encourage. I encourage people to be inventive. But the second one, if your intention is to go and work for a company, you should impress them with stuff that relates to what they are doing. So don't go there with too much weird and wonderful ideas. Show them that you can do the stuff that normal people do every day. But if you are going to do your own business, and you want to pitch yourself in a step higher, and want to develop yourself, going after a dream of your own products, I would really recommend that.
Bab, في هذا عندي السؤال خلف ما في عندك تعليق؟
بسم الله. بالنسبة للمصمم المبتدئ عنده خيارات كثيرة. محاولة تكرار الآخرين تعطيك فرصة أنك تتدرب على التولز أكثر، لأن زي اللي تقول عندك حل موجود، فممكن تجرب باستخدام البرامج اللي عندك حتى تتأكد أنك أنت فهمتها مضبوط وصار عندك التول. واضحة هذه؟ بالنسبة للأخ سألت عن هل في فرصة في البلد وكذا. حقيقة الأفكار التجارية وكذا تبدأ من المصممين، سواء حتى المصمم المعماري، حتى لما يجيب فكرة جديدة ويطورها يخلق لنفسه والغيره وظائف. فأنتم الآن صار يعني تقولون بايونيرز، يعني أنتم أشخاص اللي الجيل الأول اللي نبي ندربه تدريب حقيقي بحيث أنه يصير يعني بالإضافة للتعليم الجامعي اللي تأخذه أنك تدخلون في هذا المجال. والمتاح الآن أن يعني وايد التقنية في الجامعة وبادر برنامج بادر والمراكز الصناعية كلها مبنية على فكرة أن في ناس مثلكم بيجون بأفكار ومصممين لابد أن يخلقون برودكت جديدة. فالمساحة المتاحة لكم الآن أفضل من أي وقت مضى، لكن لا تظنوا أنها بتكون بهالسهولة. تحتاج فعلا أن الواحد يبذل جهد كبير أن يتعلم والتعلم أولا. حتى أنا عندي سؤال الأخ speaker, I have a question for you. When do you say freeze to your design? Because you always have an idea to improve. When do you say enough is enough, I'm gonna freeze my design? And I will translate. إن قاعد سألت سؤال قلت متى يوقف من عملية التصميم وينتقل للمرحلة اللي بعدها.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. I think that's the most difficult question to ask for a designer. Because we always want to improve, and we're so critical about what we do ourselves that we never get to the point of actually saying this is now the end of it. I don't have a specific answer for you, but I've learned over the last 16 years that you need to get to the point where you can actually draw a line. And the easiest way for me is to try and make a little checklist before I start. And when I get to the point where that checklist is done, I say this is the line now and I need to start to get it out in the market. But I would also encourage people to never stop. You'll see in my case study after this one, we actually got to that point where we had to get it into the market. But as Nicholas also said to me, and sometimes you need external people to show you what you've done in your business. I got to a point where I got my product on the market, but I never stopped listening to my customers. And after that, we've added on so much value to our business. And I'm not talking about the product, to the business, because of further extensions and development on our product. But get into the market. That's the only way that you would learn what will work and what can work.
One more question. How much do you need to know about manufacturing processes as an industrial designer? Because you might be creating something that cannot be produced. So,
yeah, that's very important. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. I think different designers would tackle this question differently. And that's, during my presentation, I referred to skills and a bit of internship. And there's a manufacturing side and then design side. A young designer can take two routes to become to get into industry. The one is to go through manufacturing, and the one other route is to go into design as in my sense, a consultancy. If you go through the route of manufacturing, you need to understand one specific process. You need to really know everything about that process. What drives the cost, what drives the time, what drives the material. Because the process is the key to the success of your product. So on the other side, when you go and do a consulting industrial designer, you need to know enough from every material and every process available to be able to design something. But in both cases, I think industrial design is in a big sense a technical profession. The technical side towards manufacturing and material, you need to really understand it very well. Because you're going to tool up on a product and you're going to spend R1 million on a tool. And once it's in the tool and doesn't work, your reputation is down the drain. Customer is not going to be happy if you spend his money on a tool and the product in the tool cannot even come out of the tool. So yes, you need to really know process and understand it very much. But it's also an advantage to industrial designers to know processes, because processes normally affects the product price at the end. And through industrial designing, you can really determine and save so much for the customer through design and through understanding your process and your material. So yes, no, very much important.
Alternatively, you can work in a group where one engineer is about manufacturing, understanding the real processes, what it takes to produce such a thing, not necessarily from a technical point of view, but also from a financial point of view. It could be prohibitively costly to manufacture such a design.
And just to sort of add on, Apple's manager that just died was very good in integration. And I think industrial designer is the integrator in product development. You might not be the best in every field, but you need to understand all those aspects. Even if there's a special guy looking at the metal and the metallurgic side to it, you need to understand it to actually assist him and let him assist you to get to the best answer.
I know this question will Well, open question.
When you are going to design something, how do you manage the balance between the quality and the low cost?
Yeah, I think the marketability in the beginning is one of our sort of focus areas. You need to understand your customer in a sense that you know where that product would be pitched or sold, in what price level, to what end consumer. If it's a high income, which relates to high quality, or is it a low income that relates to low quality? Looking at the cups again, a paper cup that we mentioned as industrial designer. The designer that developed that cup knew that it needs to be as cheap as possible, needs to be throwaway, needs to cost nothing. So with that knowledge in mind, he would design a cup specific for that. So I think you need to understand your customer's eventual point of sale, place where it will be sold, the price, obviously the volume that it will be sold at, because you would have a certain amount of development costs, a certain amount of tooling costs. And those costs you need to amortize over the product lifespan and add it to the product to know that you covered all your development. Now, it's a difficult question, but the answer lies with your customer, and you need to follow his lead on that. Difficult one.
Sometimes it's a process that is always come to the designer, which is either making something big, smaller, miniaturization, or something that is small, you want to get it more functionality so it grows in size. How this process is thought of from an industrial designer? Just quick, I know it is a big question, but try to, I mean, let's say I have a device that's doing something, and I would like it to be mobile. So what sort of path you would take?
I think the example that I showed is very much in line with what we do. From an industrial designer, is coming from, so we need to know what the product is, what is the competition look like, what does the features they offer. So firstly, I think we would do research to get a sort of a bird's eye view on what is available and what the company has done. Then we would most probably look at what is the capabilities of the company inside and how can we sort of integrate our thoughts to there. From our company's point of view, we normally try and get all the components, all the relevant information at us before we even start our conceptual phase. So even if it's a wireless, say we want to take this phone and we want to make it a projector. There would be on what we can get in here. So firstly, I think that to get all the components, all the inside parts to us, we would model it up even in little block form, just to get ourselves a space model of what's available. Then we would normally take that space model, print it out in a few views, and our designers would start to sketch, create a bit of identity around the internals. If it's not according to our like, we might move some of the internal parts to get to a different configuration that might even give us a different outer configuration. And from there we would then go and sit with, this is the type of configuration that we would like to achieve. That part can't be that close, it's going to overheat. We need to move things and eventually come up with a PC board print, got all the major mechanical components on it. That will then go out to the electronic engineer. He will all his routing of the components and tracks. It will come back to us, and from there we would basically carry on. And then we would start to split all the parts, look at the manufacturing options that we've got, look at the volume it's going to be manufactured up, and see if it's viable to pick a specific route or process. It sort of gives you an idea.